by financial. The chairman of APC in Akoko Northeast, Mr. Saliu Olanriwaju, and the special advisor to Ondo State Governor on Environment, Mr. Niyi Oseni, implored party faithful to see that Tunji Ojo clinches the party's candidature in the primaries.
We are seeing his work and working. We are sending him, he has a capacity and ability to represent our. So since we are seeing that he's working, it's giving us a courage, and everybody in this constituency are happy.
The Congress that led to the emergence of our delegates is consensus that people really embrace the outcome of it. For that, we expect a very peaceful primaries. We are all in accord, and there's no dissenting group in our party.
The All Progressives Congress has fixed Saturday, the 28th of May 2022, for the primary of the House of Representatives.
Still talking politics, the PDP presidential primary is set to hold on Saturday, May 28, as a federal high court in Abuja has adjourned till June 1 a case challenging the forthcoming presidential primary of the party. One of the presidential aspirants of the PDP, Ndukwe Chukwudi, had on April 28 asked Justice Donatus Okorowo to stop the presidential primary for contravening its zoning agreement and not agreeing to field a candidate from the Southeast. Justice Okorowo at the time fixed May 18 for parties to file their written addresses, which would then lead to a verdict on the case. But counsel for the PDP chairman told the court that he had entered an application before the Court of Appeal. Justice Okorowo held that he would have to adjourn proceedings because an appeal had been entered. Not leaving the matter yet, the Supreme Court has reserved judgment in a suit filed by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation seeking an interpretation of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. The seven-man panel led by Justice Mohammed Datijo said the date will be communicated to the parties involved in the suit. At the proceedings today, the All Progressive Grand Alliance, ABGA, and the Nigeria Bar Association, NBA, brought an application seeking to be joined as interested parties. ABGA, however, opted out by withdrawing its application for joinder, which was subsequently struck out by the Apex Court. The panel, in a short ruling, joined the NBA as a friend of the court. You're watching the news at 7. We'll now go on a break. When we return, we'll serve you more stories. Please stay with us.
That was simple now. Call 109 now. Or just dial star 109 hash. Or you can just text your NIN to 109. What of people like us will not get NIN at all? What the Angelic Glow one and register. Free.
Abego, how Mr. Fete can enjoy this 20,000 naira?
Whether you be old or new Glow customer, collect your whoop now when we say in the hot. Bonus free.
Rose, I don't receive my own bonus. No, thank you.
Up to 20,000. Bonus free.
Back. You can also watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, OSRC TV Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel, OSRC TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the bulletin. Wife of the Ondo State Governor, Mrs. Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu, has stressed the importance of the family in finding lasting solutions to societal challenges. Mrs. Anyanwu Akeredolu spoke at a program organized by the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development in commemoration of this year's International Day of Families. The governor's wife called on Nigerian families to embark on sustained vigilance to bring to an end the current challenges facing the nation. The theme for the 2022 International Day of Families is Families and Urbanization, raising awareness on the importance of sustainable family-friendly urban policies. The report is presented from our studio.
The United Nations General Assembly, in its resolution beginning from 1993, set aside the 15th of May every year to be observed globally by members as the International Day of Families. At this gathering are different families to mark this year's celebration. The aim of this event, organized by the Ondo State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, is to create awareness and increase knowledge on issues relating to the family as the base unit and building block of society, as it reflects on the importance attached to families. Wife of Ondo State Governor, Mrs. Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu, while speaking on the theme of this year's celebration, Families and Urbanization, harped on the importance of families in societal development. Represented by the wife of the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Oluwaseun Ayedatiwa, the governor's wife called on Nigerians to dedicate this year's celebration to finding lasting solutions to issues affecting the survival and proper development of the family.
The challenges we face today, banditry and terrorism as a nation, can be linked to the behavior of the family level. When families are disjointed, chances of getting well-behaved children from such families are slim. While enjoying the bliss of our growth and development, we cannot afford to neglect what is most important to us.
The Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Mrs. Juliana Oshadaun, said the family, being the bedrock of the society, must be well taken care of to put an end to the decadence that has pervaded society.
Especially now that the world is very free.
Speaking on this year's theme, Families and Urbanization, resource person from Rufus Giwa Polytechnic, Mrs. Olanireti Alabi, urged families to monitor the activities of their children and works to safeguard them from committing crimes against humanity. Highlight of the event was the celebration of 5 families, while awards were also given to the best dressed families.
The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board says it will further screen 27,105 results of candidates who wrote the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. The board also announced that it had withheld 69 results so far. The board said 1,761,338 candidates registered for the 2022 UTME examination. Suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari has filed a motion requesting the court to revisit his bail application. The application for the review, which was filed by his counsel at a Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, according to his counsel Onyechi Ikpeazu SAN, is predicated on the grounds that Abba Kyari's life is under threat. The senior lawyer pleaded with the court to consider the bail in the interest of justice and to save his client's life from being cut short. However, the prosecution counsel, Joseph Mbona, opposed the application on the ground that he had not been served a copy of the application, but only got a wind of it in the open court. In a brief ruling, Justice Emekwan Bite held that in the interest of justice, the court would adjourn the matter to enable parties to exchange necessary court processes. The judge subsequently fixed June 14, 2022 for the continuation of the hearing in the matter. Mr. Kyari is facing fresh drug trafficking charges brought against him by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Now taking stories on security, Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo has imposed a curfew on 8 local government areas of the state. In a statewide broadcast in Awka, Soludo said the curfew will commence today from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. He equally banned motorcycles, commercial tricycles and shuttle from operating in the affected local councils until the sit-at-home order completely stops. The governor also called on residents of the state to join hands with him to achieve his dream of making Anambra a livable and prosperous homeland. Still on security, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, has decried the killing of Harira Jibrin and her 4 children in Anambra State by unknown gunmen. The Sultan condemned the dastardly act, describing the killing as senseless and barbaric. He also urged the federal government to spare no efforts in smoking out the unknown gunmen from the hideouts with immediate effect. The Sultan also condemned the recurring, heartless and calamitous unprovoked killings and maiming across the country as a result of insecurity. President Muhammadu Buhari will today leave Abuja to participate in the African Union Extraordinary Session of Assembly of Heads of States and Government in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says that this year's summit will be focusing on security, and the 3-day summit, which will hold between today and Saturday, 28 May 2022, will also focus on humanitarian challenges in Africa with related issues on migration, refugees, returnees, and internally displaced persons. Mrs. Aisha Buhari, who is the president of the African First Ladies Peace Mission, is accompanying her husband to the African Union meeting along with some ministers. Now moving on to the foreign scene, global food prices have hit an all-time high in recent months. They are being driven upwards by the war in Ukraine, the pandemic and climatic change. This comes on top of surging energy prices and high inflation. Akintide Akishomola reports.
Trouble at the hills. The prices of staple foods have soared in recent months, with as many as 2 in every 5 Britons now buying less to eat. And for the first time in 40 years, inflation, the gradual increase in the cost of goods and services across a year, rose to 9%, with the government of the Bank of England warning of apocalyptic food price hikes. Further back in the supply chain, the middlemen are trying their best to absorb the rising cost. This is London's biggest wholesale food market, where the industry is experiencing a perfect storm of problems, from the pandemic to Brexit, and more recently, the war in Ukraine.
The crisis going on in Ukraine, with the floods going on in Spain, the various packaging costs, fuel costs. Brexit hasn't helped as well in terms of all the extra paperwork that has to be done. Who knows what's around the corner? You know, if the war continues, it's going to get worse. The winter's going to get worse. Look at what we're looking at now. You know, the cost of heating, the cost of electricity. It's all going up and up and up.
Russia and Ukraine are some of the world's largest producers of cooking coals, fertilizers and grains used in everything from bread to animal feed. But the conflict means goods are stuck in ports or rotting in fields. Producers and sellers are used to dealing with unpredictable situations, from low yields, economic pressure to supply chain problems. Producers and sellers are used to dealing with unpredictable situations, from low yields, economic pressure to supply chain problems. But rarely have the issues come this thick and fast, leaving no time for companies to recover, leaving everybody from field to fork counting the cost. And what is a worry for wealthy Western consumers is potentially catastrophic for some of the world's poorest. In Somalia, already crippled by droughts, the war in Ukraine has pushed fuel and fertilizer prices up by 40%. While in India, a decision to ban grain exports to protect domestic supplies threatens to push global wheat prices even higher. In the United Kingdom, the National Dish Fish and Chips is indicating an early warning of danger.
Oil's gone up, petrol's gone up, diesel's gone up. It all adds on to everything. And Joe Public's paying for it. We're all paying for it. And how much more can we pay for it?
The cost of cooking oil has increased 30% in 3 months, and cod and haddock are becoming more expensive as global warming is driving fish stocks further north, forcing fishermen to spend longer at sea. And now Russian fish has disappeared from the market. Industry bosses fear a third of the United Kingdom's fish and chip shops could close in the next 9 months. As the world bounces back from the pandemic, it is now out of the frying pan and into the fire. Akintunde Akinshomola for Osrc News.
We'll now return to the story of the national leader of the all-ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and presidential hopeful Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to Ondo State. The details.
It was carnival-like at the Akure airport as top government functionaries, led by Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, including party faithful, political associates, and market women, converged to receive the national leader of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and presidential hopeful Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was in the state to meet minds with delegates ahead of the presidential primaries of the APC. The crowd at the airport accompanied the former governor of Lagos State to the governor's office in Akure. The setting was the Koko Conference Hall of the governor's office, as delegates who were already seated welcomed Governor Akeredolu and the APC national leader. Governor Akeredolu, who is the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum, while welcoming the APC national leader to the Sunshine State, said Tinubu has done a lot to preserve the unity of the nation while promoting her economic prosperity.
You must be able to accept the fact that Asiwaju has done a lot. We have noticed the fact that Asiwaju has caused the leg and bread of this country. And let us all be frank with ourselves. It's rich. It's not something you can get easily. It's rich. As one of us, maybe as one of the founding fathers of our party, is rich. So when you hear news here and there, that there will be endorsement or there will be consensus that this, I don't want to believe.
he stressed the need to develop the Nigeria entity for the benefit of citizens. APC national leader Tinubu said he was in the state to say thank you, noting that Nigeria needs a leader who can think and act.
In that state, Ondo State, we are businessmen. You need a federal government that will put research and development in place and make it a commercial business revenue for Ondo State. A seaport is a very capital-intensive activity. Unfortunately, the country has no long-term money except short-term. So we have to find investors and partners to get into it and build a seaport, deep seaport for Ondo State. There's no amount of brick and mortars or steel and metal you build that will be as great a legacy as other people you develop.
He applauded Governor Akeredolu for changing the narratives of residents of the state with purposeful leadership. He urged delegates to choose him to help reshape the nation. He craved more support for the APC government in Ondo State under the leadership of Governor Akeredolu. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
To sports now. Manchester City wing defender Alexander Zinchenko says it is not necessary to talk about motivation for Ukraine as they bid to make their war-torn homeland proud in next Wednesday's World Cup playoff with Scotland. Ukraine will be playing their first competitive match since the country's invasion by Russia. Zinchenko said the players would give everything to win the game and go on to play Wales in the final qualifier. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine started in February, prompting the playoff semi-final to be postponed from its original March date. To end the news at 7, here again are the major stories. Candidates have emerged in Akure constituencies 1 and 2 as All Progressives Congress has held House of Assembly primary. We also told you that ahead APC presidential primary, Bola Tinubu has promised quality representation at a meeting with party delegates in Akure. Sequel to the security situation in Anambra State, Governor Chukwuma Soludo has imposed curfew on 8 local government areas of the state. And from the foreign scene, we told you that global food prices hit the ceiling following growing crisis. And that concludes the news at 7. Thank you so much for your time. Good evening.